to the floor the government.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are finite, the earth is finite, and our resources are finite. Terrorism, nuclear weapons, economic stagnation, xenophobia, economic migration, the list goes on. The fact is, the present condition of humanity is absolutely horrendous. There's now compelling evidence to show that humanity's impact on the Earth's atmosphere, oceans, and wildlife, among other lasting impacts, has pushed the world into a new geological era called the Anthropocene, with Anthropo standing for man and scene standing for new. This new era has marked the downward spiral of the human condition, and it only gets worse from here. So let me talk you through a narrative which for the opposition is only a scenario of the apocalypse and is only a pre-traumatic disorder, but you'll find out through my narrative that most of what is in it is already happening. So the two main culprits that are responsible for the worsening of the human condition are the ever-increasing population and the climate change. Most of all the other catastrophes will fall and will occur under these two main titles. To begin with overpopulation, like the government said, it's estimated to reach about 11 billion in 2100, according to the UN. While we can barely sustain ourselves now with the resources present, imagine this increase. The food and the energy shortages will be tremendous. And consequently, the waste accumulation, the greenhouse gases, and the pollution emissions would reach a peak, which in turn increases our second culprit, the climate change, and consequently global warming, which leads us to the second catastrophe. The climate change would have detrimental effects on the condition of humanity. The climate change would lead to lethal heat waves, which would greatly affect our resources of water and crops. But most importantly, the rising sea level due to the melting ice caps would amount to several underwater cities. The water level would rise 2 meters in the next 100 years. The sea level rise and the subsequent flooding will leave some coastal regions uninhabitable, forcing people to flee their homes. Many millions of environmental refugees are now present, and there will be much more in the future. This will result in health threats such as increases in urban crowding, trauma, social unrest, and increase in xenophobia, lack of clean water. So imagine the quality of life that humanity will need. For some large cities, it's a matter of survival. Cities including New York, Sydney, Venice are all in dire danger of drowning from the rise of sea level. So this would also mean submerging of many valuable resources such as food and energy, and so an increased competition for them, which then would lead us to a bigger threat to the condition of humanity, the usage of nuclear sciences. In order to account for the running out non-renewable energy, and due to the fast efficiency of nuclear energy in comparison to other renewable energy, many countries are embarking on building nuclear energy stations. Unfortunately, this would also mean putting all humanity at risk for nuclear leaks and nuclear waste in, for example, countries with lower safety controls than others. Also, to face the ever-increasing threats from the increased competition for resources in the social and political unrests, nuclear weapons are being fabricated and owned by more and more countries. It's now a reality that nuclear testing is used in order to experiment with all the nuclear weapons. So unlike what the opposition say, that there's a prosperity of peace now and an increased human rights and cultural rights, we're always at the risk of a nuclear war. The probability of nuclear war occurring is not very far-fetched, and in fact, we were very close to embarking into one. As the years have passed since the Cold War, it has been increasingly clear that we had several lucky escapes from nuclear weapons use during that era as the result of miscalculation or technical glitches. So what would happen if only a very small nuclear weapon is used? No, thank you. The detonation of the atomic bomb would cause a nuclear winter with disastrous impacts on the environment and the food resources. The ash and will transport into the higher levels of the Earth's atmosphere, would form a cloud layer, making it impossible for sunlight and heat to reach the surface. The dropping temperatures would plunge Earth into a nuclear winter, maybe for centuries. Plants, no longer able to produce nutrients by photosynthesis, would quickly die off and followed by the starving billions of humans. Thank you. It must be said, in all fairness, that humans have tried to control the climate change by initiating panels such as the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. However, they have not proven very efficient. The climate change increase has proven unstoppable. So it's great that they found a technology that stops carbon emissions, but like the government said, even if we stop emitting today, we will not end global warming. And scientists refer to this as committed warming, that the ice will continue to melt and the climate will not be stable. It will only continue to warm. Humans have also tried to put a stop to all nuclear activity, and many organizations were initiated, such as the Global Zero, which is an international group of 300 world leaders dedicated to achieving the elimination of nuclear weapons, but many countries that own nuclear weapons have refused to join. So both climate change control and nuclear activity control imposed to protect the condition of humanity in the future have not been efficient in their objectives. To conclude, this condition of humanity in the future portrayed is not merely a pessimistic view of the future, but rather humans are already experiencing many of these changes. Of course, the future also brings technological advances, but what use would they be for us if we can't protect ourselves against those many threats? We would most likely return to the ages of the survival of the fittest and go back in time to the tribal ages. Therefore, we as a house believe that the present condition of humanity is preferable to its condition in 100 years' time. Thank you.